Okay, here we go. Zot Helig Gemara. We are in the middle of discussing the halacha of whether or not the beer Rishona is allowed to be done on a Friday night. So that's what the Gemara is discussing now. The Gemara told us yesterday that the Olam in the Rav city said that Rav was matir and that Shmuel in the Hardah was machmer, and the people in the Hardah said, no. Our city is Mekel and your city is machmer. So the Gemara tried to bring several rayas, and each time the Gemara was able to refute the rayas. So now the Gemara is going to bring another raya. Mosav Rabami, Hamapis Mursa b'Shabbos. Whereas Rebel used to say, Hamapis Mursa b'Shabbos. Gavalti. If someone busts a pus pimple on Shabbos. Now, people don't like pus pimples. I think they're referred to as zits. And people, they're embarrassed when they have pus pimples. But I don't know if anyone knows that pus pimples is a manifestation of very, very smart people. It's a symbol that you're smart. How do I know? Because if you look at Rashi, 4 lines from the bottom, it says Hamapas Mursa, Hapesech Peh Nefach Shekern Klug. So Rashi says you shouldn't feel bad. If you have pus pimples, it means that you're smart. So Hamapas Mursa b'Shabbos. Why would someone bust a pus pimple on Shabbos? Either it's just to release the pus, or it's to create it's almost like when someone's on an IV, they create an IV and they leave a little thing sticking out, a little tube sticking out of the person with the IV connected, so they could plug in their IV drip. So that's why someone would actually have a Pesach there. Rashi says, why would you leave a Pesach? You're going to use it to medicate or to release any other oozing fluids. So you want to keep it as an access, like a doctor would have an access to the body to be able to do whatever necessary. So Mapis Mursa b'Shabbos. Im lasos lopeh. If it's to make an opening, chayiv. Dr. Rashi, why are you chayiv? Shu misakin Pesach. You're building a gateway. The chayiv mishum boina. You're building. The achchan binyan b'balechayim. You can build by balchayim. The chsiva even is a tzela. So I thought every time I eat something I'm not supposed to, it's like binyan. It's building and building and building. But that's not what building is. Building is actually making a hole to let things out. Imagine. Chayiv, one is chayiv. But the im lahotzim lecha, if the whole purpose of why someone is busting this pus pimple is just to release some pus, then pater. And Rashi says pater, the kaimalon pater mutar lechatchila. And we know that when it says pater, it means it's mutar lechatchila b'tzias Shabbos. So the kasha is of Rashi, kasha l'manda osar, according to the mandam who holds that you're not allowed to do a beer rishon on Friday night. It's fair because the hainami lahitzidamu. This is also lahitzidam, and we're saying that it's a mutar. So if someone's being boiled lahitzidam, why should it be osar? So the Gemara had multiple reasons before, right? On the side that it's dam mifkid pocket, right? On the side that it's dam mifkid pocket, the Gemara said the shayla was maybe the dam hu tzarech, and if it's a dam hu tzarech and dam is mifkid pocket, then there's no problem at all, right? That was one of the stuff. There was a tzad that it should be usher even if dam is mifkid pocket, because he has das to make a Pesach, right? And on the flip side, if you hold dam chibur michber, maybe he's doing it lahanos bia and not for the dam. So this kasha is a kasha. Tosfos tells us on what shot in the shaila the Gemara's kasha is on. So Tosfos says over here, when Tosfos says it's asking according to the Mand Amar who holds mifkid pocket, and it's asking it's asking according to the Mand Amar who holds that it's usher, that the dam chibur michber, and therefore it should be usher. Yet over here, Over here it says that it's mutter. So it's probably kedai to do this Tosfos because Tosfos explains it in a little bit greater detail. So let's see what Tosfos says. I'm sorry, I just want to get trying in the kasha. Vim lahaitzi mimenu lecha potter the perik. So let's look at the first verse as well. Im lasis lapeh chayiv the pesach zeh asuya lahaknus lahaitzi because then you're making a proper pesach lahaknus avir lahaitzi lecha. But vim lahaitzi mimenu lecha if the whole purpose of this is just lahaitzi mimenu lecha, then it's going to be potter. The perik shmona shiratim l'kmin law Reb Shimon. We explained that this halacha is going according to Reb Shimon. That a davar shein mechaven is mutter. The Salkadaita, the Reb Ami, the Moisev, Reb Ami, who's asking this kasha, what is he basing his kasha on? The dam mifkid pocket. We're assuming that it's dam mifkid pocket. So there are so many different ways to frame the shaila. So he's asking the shaila based on it being framed in the following fashion: that we're going according to the tzad that dam is mifkid pocket, and uludamu tzorach v'loy pesach, and what he needs is the dam and not the pesach. And it's not a problem because it's mifkid pocket. And even under these circumstances, Shmuel was answering ki Reb Shimon, like Reb Shimon, the hava malacha she'eina tzricha legufa. It's a malacha she'ein tzricha legufa because he's making a pesach automatically. Ulahachi parach mimapes Moshe. I'm not. No, he holds it. He holds it not high. He holds it butter. So I'm not sure. So let's see. Ulahachi parach mimapes Moshe, and that's what we're asking for mapes Moshe. The chihechi the lahaitzi mimenu lecha potter, just like over there by mapes Moshe. If the purpose of busting the pimple is to be moitzi lecha and it's potter, the kaimelon the potter will mutter, and we hold that potter and it's mutter lechatchila. Even in the Terchel Pesach, since it's not needed for a Pesach, it's the Haitzi Lecha. It's mutter lechatchila. Aval gav the shar malacha shein shricha legufa potter. Aval aser, even though all other malacha shein shricha legufa is, although they are potter, but it's also lechatchila to do. And here it's mutter lechatchila. Morsa shari. Why is it mutter by morsa? It's a malacha shein shricha legufa, which although it's potter, but it's also to do lechatchila. It's shari mishum tsar. Since a pas pimple is painful, so we allow you to be moitzi de lecha, even though it's a malacha shen shricha legufa, which should be also lechatchila, but since you're in pain, we're going to allow it. So why is that a kasha? The beer Rishayna.
When it says there on Shabbos, all usa that says on Shabbos means except by this speaking for the
Okay. So shari mishum tsar by mapes Moshe there's a special heter because of pain, and therefore we're saying it's even mutter lechatchila. Hachanami. So by the biri shayna mishum mitzvah havalon mystery. So it's a loose comparison. If over there we're allowing you to be lechatchila over a mitzvah a malacha shetichal gufa, if over there we're saying we're allowing you to do lechatchila. Why? Because of an extenuating factor. Because of the fact that there's pain. So here also we have a special factor. The beer showing is a mitzvah, so you should also be able to lechatchila do a malacha shen shricha legufa.
If it's only if it's not creating a pesach, if it's only because you need the blood,
that's why it would be a malacha shen shricha legufa. Okay, but afilu sharinan mishum tzayra tvei mishum mitzvah. And even if you want to tell me, I don't understand the comparison. But to stop someone from being in pain, for that will allow you to do a malacha shen shricha legufa. But who said just to do a mitzvah, you're allowed to be over a malacha shen shricha legufa? At the page with Rabbeinu Tamalil, for shopper, it's still a good kasha. Why? The hacha vadai david psikresha. By mapas mursa, when you're busting the pus pimple, it's for sure going to make a pesach. It's a vadai psikresha leading pesach, and therefore, in a case where it's a vadai psikresha, in a case where you're vadai going to be making a pesach, even though that's not your intent, it would be mutter. It would be aser ilav mishum tzayra haya aser. If it wasn't for tzayra, it would be aser. Avo gabe beila, but when it comes to beila, it's even a better scenario, the Mapas Mursa. Because Guy Be'ila is on the Mishri, Alpagav the Lekatzira. By the Be'ila's mitzvah, it should be mutter, lechatchila, even though there's no pain involved, that's being relieved by the Be'ila, of course. Even the law of a psik ratio, Linyan Pesach. Since by the Bia, it's not a psik ratio Linyan Pesach. When he's doing it lahajidam. It's not a psik ratio that it's also making a Pesach. Why? Like we learned, even the Evshel Chas Dam, the Loyasi is Pesach, Kedamuchach La'il, by the Bikim Bataya. So therefore, if by Mapas Mursa, it's mutter lechatchila, why would Shmuel aser lechatchila by the Bia Rishon?
Actually, Orichi Dam Buli Asis Pesach, the Meshubet and Asis Pesach.
No.
Hatoya means that you don't bust anything and you don't rip anything.
No, but it's also Efsher Loitzoyes Dam Loitzoyes Pesach.
No.
I don't know the science of it. I don't know the science of it.
But that's for sure that he didn't do it.
So if Toys is telling me that it's Efsher, and if you tell me that's not, what am I supposed to do?
That not because it's a Kemtaros blip, but the machshava, what he's doing is not for the machshava.
That's not what.
Making
But that's not what Toys is saying. Yeah.
Yosy, a general question. I don't see how it's Davar Shein is Chav Mein Shchich Gufa. Does he not want to see blood in order to prove that she's a psula?
Yeah, he wants. We're going now on the time that he wants to see dam. He wants to see dam, but dam wouldn't be a problem because dam mifkid pocket. This dam, the dam basulam, is not considered making a chabura. So on the flash, the point that we're focusing on is that shaila. If it's dam mifkid pocket, and if it's ladam hutzarich, it wouldn't be a problem at all. It would be mutar chila. The question is while he's extracting the dam, which is perfectly heter, he's also making a pesach, and making a pesach is the problem. So Tosis is telling us that it's possible. It's not a psikresha. It's possible to be moitzi dam without making a pesach. So therefore, it's mistaber that if by mapas morsa, where it's impossible to be moitzi the leicha without making the pesach, and it's mutar lechatchila there because of tsar. In our case, it's even less chomer because it's not even a psik reisha that a pesach will be created when you're moitzi dam, and that was our Gemara's kasha. So it sounds like a general kasha. Tosfos says it's laser focused on one specific mahalach on what the shaila was.
It's not the same thing that's there. Amapas Moses there, Muda says, why the Pesach means that you have to come in and go out. So it's those two things. You take out the Jews, and then you want the wind should come in to heal. But they might say Pesach. Even if you're drilling the hole and things coming out, it's not called doing the Pesach. Right? Do that not right. The taking out the blood is not making a Pesach because it's only one the blood come out. You want to make a Pesach that you should be able to boil later. There's two other things. In the same place that the blood comes out, there he's boiled. He's busting some kind of place.
I didn't see this, I don't know so well. But the fact is not a psikration.
Right.
That's all we need to know.
It's not the same kind of Pesach as here.
Fine, that's fine. That's fine. But it's not a psikration. That's the main point is that it's not a psikration. Yeah. Since it's not a psikration, it should be less chomer. But even though over here there's no tsar, if over there we allow it because of tsar, here where it's not even a psikration, if it should for sure be mutter, and why would Shmuel ask? That's Gemara's kasha. Now that and for the Gemara, there's a difference between the mifkid pocket there and the mifkid pocket here. Hasam pocket va'akir. In the case of Mapas Mursa, it's completely the rashes, the pus is completely gathered together in an air pocket. Va'akir kulim in abasa. It's not like there's any blood or pus whatsoever absorbed into the basa. It's in the pimple. It's in like a separate container. And it's ready to be released. Masha Enken, even though we're referring to dam as a mifkid pocket, it's not as separated from the body as the pus is in the pus pimple. Hacha pocket v'lo yakir. Rashi hacha by dam basulim. It's pocket v'lo yakir lagamrei. Al nivla ksas b'ksol. It's somewhat absorbed into the walls of her body, and therefore apple b'shedim mechuber kishar dam evarim elakanus. So it's somewhere in the middle. It's not completely absorbed in the evarim like other evarim, like when you cut your finger. It's more gathered in one place, but it's not mamish completely separated from the body like pus in a pus pimple. It's more doimel to mechuber than the pus and the pus pimple. So we're mamish gribbling in to how connected the dam is to her body. So the most connected is when you cut your hand and blood comes. That's mamish dam of nivla beivarim. That's for sure a chabula. Then you have mapas morsa, which is totally the opposite. You have like a little bubble on your skin that is pus, if it's completely removed from your skin. And then you have the dam basulim, which is somewhere in the middle. Again, I don't know exactly how the mitzias is, but that's what the Gemara is referring, and that's why just because over there by mapas morsa it's mutar lechatchila, it's not a kasha. Why by the bir rishona wouldn't be mutar lechatchila? Okay, Rabbi Ami shara lemeval b'tchila b'shabbos. Rabbi Ami said no problem, you can be boiled b'tchila b'shabbos. Amalei Rabbanan. So the Rabbanan told him, how could you possibly allow bir rishona on Shabbos? Where's the ksuba? Well, like ksiba ksubasa, there was no ksuba written. So if there's no ksuba written, because about a kedusha they don't make the ksuba, they write the ksuba before the nesuin, and he's not making the bia. So where's the ksuba? How could you be boiled lechatchila without a ksuba? But it seems like he didn't have chip yet. He didn't have the nesuin yet, and this was going to be the nesuin, and that's why the kasha is there would have to be a ksuba written. So you're asking me maybe he wrote it Erev Shabbos. Could be that's what the Gemara could have answered. The Gemara has a different theory. The Gemara said, Amalahu at Basum Atavim. Could be the Gemara knew that Rav Ami didn't write a ksuba. It's not a lom question, right? Could be the Gemara knew he didn't write a ksuba. So how did he do it? The Gemara Amalu at Basum Atavim. You don't necessarily have to have the kshar ksuba. There's other ways to guarantee that the woman has the value of her ksuba.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Someone loses their ksuba on the night. That's what they do. Give over the watch.
That's right. Or if the ksuba is written wrong, right? We know of a ma'aseh that happened recently where the ksuba is written wrong. So the Rav told the chassan to take. The Rav told the Rav told the chassan he didn't have his watch there. So the Rav told the kala to give her ring back to the chassan, that it should belong to him, and then he should give the ring back to her, as she should give him the ring b'matana. He should give her the ring as a mashkin until they have a chance to rewrite the ksuba.
She got the ksuba, right?
No, the ksuba had a mistake in it. The ksuba had the wrong name. So Mamana, she didn't have the ksuba. So.
But if she gave him the ring and then he gave it back and could,
right.
So he gave her now $200.
Yeah.
He gave her the.
Yeah, that's the sumatal. That's exactly what the case is over here. That's the sumatal. It's nula metaltlin tachas yoda b'mashkin. Give her a metaltlin. She should have as a mashkin l'shibut ksubasa. So that's something where she could collect from if necessary. Achi yichtavu shtak ksubasa b'shivur kakais. So it's funny. We were in this unbelievable psak of the first Gemara. So before the Gemara, at Basum metaltlin. That's what it is. Rabbi Zvid shara lemivel b'tchila b'Shabbos. Rabbi Zvid allowed somebody to make the original be on Shabbos. Ikada Amri, Rabbi Zvid gufei bo b'tchila b'Shabbos. Rabbi Zvid himself did it. So that's a mamish amaisa Rav. It says Rabbi Zvid. Rabbi Yehuda shara lemivel b'tchila b'yomtiv. I'm assuming if the Gemara wants to bring a raya from Rav Zvid, it must have been when he was Rav Zvid. And this is Shkaraya. Could be the Gemara says Shlokish did it before he did Chivas to Shkaraya, right? So Zok Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Shara Lemivel B'Tchila B'Yom. Amar Apapi Mishmei Derav. Apapi said in the name of Rav, Loi Tema B'Yom Tiv T'Shari HaB'Shabbos Aser. Don't be medayik from the fact that Rava was from the fact that Rabbi Yehuda was matir on Yom Tov, that dafka on Yom Tov and not on Shabbos. To who I didn't afilu b'Shabbos nami shari. He would have, of course, been matter the biri shine on Shabbos as well. They asked him the Shaila Lagabi Yom Tov. So that's what he passed. Had they asked him the Shaila Lagabi Shabbos, he would have been matter as well. But Rav Papa Mishmei de Rav Amar, the Yom Tov shari. No, Rav Yehuda could be was only matter on Yom Tov, but the Shabbos also. But on Shabbos he would not have been matter them to do the biri shine. Amalei Rav Papa, my daitich. What would be this for? Gewaltig. Zogt Gemara, and that opens up like Yosy Simon Kesubos. Every line is another sugya. My daitich. What's the whole svara? It's mitoich shehudra chabur l'tzarich hudra nami shalei l'tzarich. You might say, in fact, that it is a chabur, and if it's a chabur, that's why it's aser. How could you do the chabur on Yom Tov? Because on Yom Tov there's a special halacha of mitoich shehudra l'tzarich hudra shalei l'tzarich. Rashi says that you're allowed to do malachas l'tzarich al nefesh. Where is the malacha of chabur allowed l'tzarich al nefesh? Rashi shchita. So shchita is allowed l'tzarich al nefesh. Once something is allowed l'tzarich al nefesh, it's also allowed shaloi l'tzarich.
It's also called
I heard the Gemara doesn't say that, but that's nice. It's a nice there. But even if it wasn't achila, it's chutz shaloi l'tzarich. There had to be a tzarich tzas, but you see, so that's why he would have been matzah on Yom. So zok tomorrow, if you're going to tell me are you going to tell me that mutter lasa is mugmar b'Yom Tov? Are you going to tell me that you're allowed to do mugmar on Yom Tov? What does mugmar mean? Zok Rashi, mugmar was there were spices that they put on a flame and they put it underneath a drying rack where clothes were drying. So the nice smell of these, it's a fabric softener to make things smell good. By us, it's just a little piece of a little liquid we dump into the thing. In those days, it was a little bit more involved. What? That's right. But Rashi over here is talking about for begodim. Al eish legamer is a kelim ves begodim. So zok to Gemara, are you telling me you're allowed to move beyond the mitoich shehutra avora l'tzarich hutra nami shaloi l'tzarich? So he's asking the kasha. So the problem with this kasha is, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want from a papa? I don't understand. What do you want from a puppy who said it was to a papa who said it was dafka on Yom Tov? What do you want from him? He's saying the Allah of mitoich shehutra l'tzarich hutra nami shaloi l'tzarich. So it has nothing to do with the fact that he said that he's b'dafka being matir the biri shoyna on Yom Tov versus Shabbos. It's anybody who holds mitoich shehutra l'tzarich hutra nami shaloi l'tzarich. It has nothing to do with the shaila of bia. It's a general question. This is a general kasha on the halacha of mitoich shehutra l'tzarich hutra shaloi l'tzarich. But so why are you asking about him over here? Because he made a psak of conclusion. Ask the kasha in the sugya. We don't.
We make true, we not carry anything.
So that's your Toshos. You're saying good. So that's your Toshos. Since it's a mutter l'tzarich l'chol nefesh, hutra nami shaloi l'tzarich l'chol nefesh. But like the Chaim said, there has to be some benefit for today. Like carrying a cotton to the malim, or we say Torah licorice boy, or velulav lotus boy. Then it wouldn't be allowed. The mechayiv, if it's like taking out stones that wouldn't be relative for Yom Tov at all, that would not be allowed. It would even be chayiv. The oifim Yom Tov l'choil, where chesed amaloika mishum delas lechoil. He doesn't know the foil the kloy archim. Okay, so let's just have a shaila over here. Let's see where Toshos asks this kasha a little bit further down. Why it's dafka over here? But that's an important yisod that even though you hold mitoich, it's only l'tzarich tzas. It's not for no reason at all. So here's Toshos. It's the next Toshos. I'm sorry. The entire effect Toshos. L'didei nami tiksi. He can ask on himself. The chiloi savar damrin on mitoich doesn't Rapapa also hold the same mitoich? If everybody holds the same mitoich, this is not a takasha with dafka because if he was matter the beer China, it's a kasha in general. If you hold the v'toich, you should be able to make mugmar. A time of the Beisil Hachu, V'Shloimar, you could say, so you sober the time of the Beisil, Mishum Dem Erev Vaitzah. Maybe the reason why Beisil says that you're allowed to carry a tinnik is because he holds ein Erev Vaitzah. Maybe Taka doesn't hold the v'toich. Even though they asked over there from Mitoich, the maybe I probably didn't hear that. So you sober hutra shaloi l'tzoyach. Yes, we do hold the Mitoich, but at the v'vad shehei davar haraga. That's only if it's a common thing. But you want to say something that's very uncommon. The beer Rishayna, that's not a common thing to do on Yom Tov. So there maybe you wouldn't apply Mitoich to that svara. Lachi parach is that in a ruggle tfei mi mugmer. It should be no better than mugmer. So there's two shittas here. Either Hitaka doesn't hold the mitoich, that's why he's asking kasha mitoich, or he holds you. Who said you can apply the heter mitoich to such an uncommon type of activity? So zok to Gemara, according to you, that you say mitoich, it should be mutter. It should be mutter to do migmor, and we know you're not allowed to do migmor. Zok to Gemara, I'm not sure where I am. I lost the place. There. Amar lei, Allah Amar ka. Special for you. The Torah wrote a pasuk special to deal with your kasha. It says Acha sheyochel l'chol nefesh, and Acha sheyochel l'chol nefesh dover hashava l'chol nefesh. What type of things do we allow? We allow things that are things that everybody needs. Rashi says Allah Amar ka l'chol nefesh dover hashava l'chol nefesh mutter. Ubeila shava l'koil. Aval mugmar eina ela l'mipuna. Bia is nageh to everybody. So therefore, you could say mitoich. But mugmar, which is only made for a small segment of society, so even though it's not common, but everybody does it to bia. But mugmar is not done by everybody. It's only done from a funokim, and therefore it's not allowed. Okay. So this is a big sugya, because the question is showering every day a davar hashava l'chol nefesh. So once upon a time, it for sure wasn't. Now there are points who say it is. So whether or not you're allowed to take a shower on Yom Tov and all the rules involved is a shaila that comes into play today. And there are Rabbanim who will allow you to take a shower on Yom Tov because they consider it a davar hashava l'chol nefesh. There's a lot of rules, but there are Rabbanim who allow it. What? That's right, because you're heating the water to bathe, right? But everybody holds you allowed to wash your hands with warm water. Everybody holds you allowed to wash your hands, you're allowed to wash dishes with warm water on Yom Tov. Because it's it's bishul. You put in the water, put your shul l'tzarech, and that is for sure a davar hashava l'chol nefesh. But the bathing is a shaila nowadays. If it's a davar hashava, and everybody has to ask their own place. Another big shaila that you look at me funny about davar hashava l'chol nefesh. I didn't say that. I don't know. I don't know. You have to ask the post. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that shaila. But there are places who allow lukewarm, which is also bishul. If it's lukewarm, it's also bishul because you're turning on the hot water. Now, what about another thing that the shaila about davar hashava l'chol nefesh? There are places that are matter smoking on Yom Tov because it's a davar hashava l'chol nefesh. So Rabbi Yashiv says you're not allowed to smoke on Yom Tov. Who's allowed to smoke even in the week? But I think Rabbi Moshe back in the day was matter smoking on Yom Tov. Early on when we didn't know it was bad. So there's actually a Pnei Yeshua who is matir smoking on Yom Tov because the davar hashava l'chol nefesh. And he writes it's even healthy. So it could be the davar hashava l'chol nefesh. And there's a carbon nesano. There's a carbon nesano in, I think it's in Beya. The carbon nesano is usually like a couple of lines on the rush, short hagos. Has a long hago. He says I can't control myself. And he made a big machah. He says, never mind, I'm a ratzim who smoke on Yom Tov. But Talmidei Chachamim who smoke on Yom Tov. And they're showing everybody you're allowed to smoke on Yom Tov. So he goes. Yeah, I hear. But the question is davar hashava l'chol nefesh. So he wants it should be Torah reading. And it's a shaila. People who aren't addicted to smoking can't comment on it. But those are two places where in halacha there's a big tumult about davar hashava l'chol nefesh. Amalei Rav Acha, very Rav Rav Ashi. Rav Acha Rav told Rav Ashi, Ela Mayata, Nizdamaloi Tzvi B'Yom Tov. So if you're fortunate enough to have a tree, you're not allowed to capture it. But if you're fortunate enough to find a deer, which is something that's a delicacy, not everybody eats that. Not everybody has access to that. Are you telling me that hoyel ve'einish shavel l'chol nefesh, since only the very wealthy people who can afford such delicacies, since only they eat it, it's not called a davar hashavel l'chol nefesh? Hakanami the ashal mishchadei. Are you suggesting that it would be also to shech the deer? Amalei, he told him back. We need to phrase it better. Not shavel l'chol nefesh is what you need. It means davar hatzorich l'chol nefesh coming up. Anything that all people would need. Sevi tzorich l'chol nefesh. Everybody needs. No, if it's a type of food that only certain people eat, then that wouldn't be davar shel l'chol nefesh.
What do you mean?
Oh! You asked me if it's oichel nefesh itself. You shouldn't. You don't even need this far of davar shel. Ooh, that's a good kasha. Let me think about that. That's a very good kasha. So let's see Rashi. I don't know. I never ate deer meat, but only wealthy people eat deer. It's much harder to capture. So it's not something that everybody eats. No, Mati. I think even Purish used to sell deer.
Not at one.
Oh. No, for the Gemara it's mashma. Even if it's oichel nefesh, it's after if it's shavel l'chol nefesh. It says ach asher yachel l'chol nefesh. Even the heter of oichel nefesh is only davar shavel l'chol nefesh. Right. So that's what the Gemara is saying. It's davar tzorich. Everyone has to eat, and everybody would be willing to eat deer. Not everybody can afford it. That's not chesaron in davar tzorich l'chol nefesh. So tzvi is tzorich l'chol nefesh. So even though if it's something that everybody eats, because not everybody can afford to eat it, that's called tzorich l'chol nefesh, and that allowed to be mutter. Venison it's called. Well, it doesn't mean it's going to cost. Question is, it doesn't matter what it's called. It matters how much it costs a pound. Zok the Gemara, Amar back of Idi. Okay, so Zok the Gemara. So therefore, it's not a kasha because tzvi, even though it's something that most people don't have access to, it's called tzorich l'chol nefesh, and bia is no different. Amar Yaakov bar Idi. Yaakov bar Idi said, Hoide. Rabbi Yochanan issued a psak b'Tzidon in the city of Tzidon as follows: Osir livoil b'tchila b'Shabbos. Frank the Gemara, since when is it considered a psak if you're answering? Umi ika hayral iser, is that called a psak? Zok Rashi actually is mayach. Umi kari iser hayra. If a rav paskins osir, does haiskus kapaskin? Mishum dechol adam yishari lachmir. Any Amoritz could say usir. Zok usir is not hayra. That anybody could do. Well, Oyster ain't just michas dvarim. That's not that he's bringing rise and putting things together. Shafilam in a sofik. Even if you don't know, you can say Oyster. Sheina halacha bruloi who above Oyster. What's something to be impressed by? What can we call the hayra? Aval hamatir. Someone who says mutter. That's a guy. Soymech al shmuasai. He's soymech on his knowledge and on his learning. Al svaras chachmasai. The hayra. That's called the hayra. So you're going to tell me Rabbi Yochanan being machmer is called the hayra? Yes, as a matter of fact, in even being machmer is a hayra. But now we learned hayrua Beisil Paskin for Hilani Amalka, who was Makabel Naziris, and she did Naziris in Chutz La'aretz for 6.5 years. And then when she came to Eretz Yisrael, they said that when you come to Eretz Yisrael, the Naziris that you kept in Chutz La'aretz doesn't do anything. She take Nazira oy sheva shana macheres. She has to redo her Naziris in Eretz Yisrael.
Then she became tumor, and she had to do it.
The inami, or I can show you in a different place where a hira, the word hira applies to chumrah. Tanya chut asher shenifsek berubay. If the spinal cord of an animal was nifsek berubay, it's treif. So it'll be treif. You're not allowed to use a divrei Rabbi Yaakov. That's what Rabbi Yaakov. Divrei Rebbe. That's what Rebbe said. But Rabbi Yaakov Omer afilu nikev, even if it's merely punctured, not severed, it's still going to be a treifa. And the Hoira, Rebbe Yaakov. Rebbe made a Hoira Luchumra like Rabbi Yaakov. So you see, the word Hoira is appropriate even for a Chumra. Amar Avuna, Ein halacha Rabbi Yaakov. The halacha is not like Rabbi Yaakov, and if the spinal cord is merely punctured, it would not render the animal a treifa. Rabbi Nachman Yitzchak Masni Hachi. Rabbi Nachman Yitzchak learned it this way. Amar Abavo, Shol Rabbi Shmuel ben Yaakov de Mintzur. Rabbi Shmuel ben Yaakov de Mintzur asked a question as Rabbi Yochanan b'Tzidon. And I heard it. May one be boiled b'tchila b'Shabbos, or may also. The hilchasa muter livo b'tchila b'Shabbos. The halacha is it's mutter to be boiled at Chil on Shabbos, not and Mot Shabbos as well. Not only are we not worried about the problem of Chabura, but Tosfos at the bottom says we're not worried about the problem that someone might think he doesn't have enough food and he might shech the bird. We're not worried about that either. I love when the Gemara says, Aser, and right after it says Aser, because when we were taking our hairs by Rabbi Forsheimer on Yeridea, what he would do is, if anybody would call in, if a lady would call into his office with a shiloh while you were getting your hair, and it was relevant to what you were learning, he would tell them, 1 minute please. And then he would say, the lady's asking, if this happens, flesh is going to mix in the milk, in the pot, and this and that, what's halacha? So you're under pressure, you're in the middle of your hair. You think it's us, or she has to catch the pot. No problem. He would always do that to you. No problem. So that's what this Gemara reminds me of. Because Gemara says, Azur, then says, so what I did, that's why my smicha is a shtickle fraud. Because what I would do is, I would create a very complicated chayla, and then I would get a lady to call in during my hair. And then I would clear up all the sudden in the hair. So if I would have gotten caught, they would have thrown me out of my head. But I had fun. So the Gemara weiter. Amar Rab Chelboy, Amar Rab Huna, Amar Rab Abba Bar Zavda, Amar Rab Achas Besula, the Achas Almana, the Una Bracha. Now we're getting into the Sheva Brachas, Birchas Chasanim, beautiful Gemara. So no matter what type of woman gets married, it needs a bracha. Rashi, I believe, says what is a bracha that's needed. So Rashi Birchas Chasanim. We're going to see what that is. In fact, Gemara Amar Rav Huna Hachi, did Rav Huna say that? Well, Amar Rav Huna Almana Eina Tuna Bracha. Didn't Rav Huna say that an almana does not need a bracha? That when Lokasha can be bracha shenas almana where it needs bracha, can be almon shenas almana which doesn't need bracha. In fact, Gemara about almon shenas almana, Lloyd doesn't need any bracha. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Huna Bar Noson. Tana we learned minayin the Birchas Chasanim ba'asara. How do you know you need a minyan for Birchas Chasanim? Shenemar, it says v'yigach asara anoshim biziknei here v'yomer. This is talking about Boaz. When he married Ruth, he took Asar's kodim biziknei. He sat him down. V'yomer shuvu pa, sit over here. V'yeshu, when they sat down. And obviously, what was it for? It was clearly to do the Birchas Chasanim for Sheva Brachas. And Boaz almon shenas almana. Boaz was an almon shenas almana. We know Ruth was an almana, and Rashi tells us that Boaz was known as Avton, and he had many children before. So Zok Gemara, my einitu na bracha, damar Huna. So what did Rav Huna mean when he said einitu na bracha? That almana einitu na bracha. What it means is einitu na bracha kol zayin. She doesn't need a bracha, all sheva brachas. Aval yoy mecha tu na bracha, but one day she needs a bracha. And lahad Tanya shaktu chacham malta kanis b'nois Yisrael. She said mechim agibal yomim. Didn't we learn that that's why the bia should be Thursday night, so that there's Thursday and Friday and Shabbos where the husband doesn't go to work? B'mai iba bacher, if it's a bacher, anyway ha'amrit shiva. There's 7 days of sheva brachas. And iba alman ha'amrit yoy mechad. So where do you have 3 days? Look more iba is saying about alman yoy mechad levracha.
Because the sheva brachas doesn't mean that he can go to work.
No, I guess during the week of Sheva, but that's a very good point. Let's see the Gemara. Yes, there might only be Sheva Brachas 1 day, but maybe there's 3 days where he's not supposed to go to work. Exactly what Moti said. Sure, he has 7 Sheva Brachas, but only 3 days he doesn't go to work. Exactly what Moti is suggesting. Okay, Gavaldi. It's just important to know. I'm sorry. It's important to know there's a chi of Sheva Brachas. We're going to soon see. Are you allowed to leave? When you go to a chasna, there's a chi of Sheva Brachas. There's a chi of Sheva Brachas. It's a chi. Are you allowed to leave before Sheva Brachas? No. Oh, so Reb Moshe Paskin, the child was asked Reb Moshe, and they asked, if you're by a chasna, I can't stay till the end of the chasna. Do I have to stay for Sheva Brachas? So Reb Moshe said, when you wash, you have to have in zinin that I'm not going to be staying for Sheva Brachas, and I'm not participating. Rabbi, you have to have a dinner that I'm not participating in the Suda Chasen. I'm just here to Nash, but I'm not participating in the Suda Chasen because otherwise you're mechuyev to stay for Sheva Brachas. And the Rabbi said that Mava Harayin, that people who already do stay to the end of the Chasna, during Sheva Brachas, only the guys who get the brachas are listening. Everyone else is schmoozing, running around. He says you're mechuyev to listen to the Sheva Brachas. If you're there, I'm sorry? That's right. You're mechuyev to stay. You're mechuyev to stay unless you bet a t'nai. I don't know if you spoke it out, but you have to make a t'nai that I'm not going to be staying for Sheva Brachas. And then Rosh is Mekel because just because you're coming to be Mesamechos and Akala, who said you have to mess up your whole work day the next day? You'd be up half the night. But it's a silent. It's not push it. When you go to a chasna, the ikar then you mechuyev to stay for Sheva Brachos. Unless you have a way around it. Okay, Zok to Gemara weiter. Zok to Gemara weiter. Meisei. Mevarchen lebsul Shiva u'lamonu yem echad. My love, afilu almana, shenishes lebacher. It's only yom echad. Loy la'alman. An almana married an alman, there's only one day Sheva Brachos. Aval lebacher, my Shiva, ihachi. It should be another category here. Listing mevarchen lebsula Shiva u'lamonu shenishes lebacher Shiva u'lamonu yem echad. The Gemara mills with the particular katani. We only want to say things that are clear. The leka basula, the butcher mishiva. A basula will never have less than 7 Sheva Brachos. The leka almana, the butcher miyamechad, and almana will always have 1. So you see, there's no such thing as 3 Sheva Brachos. This is the Gemara. We were having a discussion that it could be there's 3 Sheva Brachos. I don't know where it comes from. But the Gemara, you don't find it at all. I'm sorry. That's the simcha. That's the simcha. They're not Sheva Brachos. Gufa, Amar Nachman, Amar Lihuna. Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. We had Gufa Amar Nachman Amar Lihuna Bar Nasan Tana Minayin LeBirchas Chasanim Basar. How do you know Birchas Chasam Basar? Shenema Vika Chasar Anoshim Mizikna here. This is the story with Boaz. Vayomer Shuvu Pa. Rabbi Vo Amar Mehacha. It says b'makelois in a klal. A klal means 10 people. Baruchu Elokim Hashem Mimekar Yisrael. And Mimekar means the Mekar, meaning the woman's uterus. When we're going to be opening a woman's uterus, meaning by a chasna, the bracha has to be b'makelois with a minion. Rab Nachman, the high court of Bavo, my daughters. What Rab Nachman is going to do with the pasuk of Bavo b'makelos? He uses it to teach you something completely different. How do you know that even ubaran, even fetuses were saying shira by the Yamsuf? In groups, they benched the Rabbi Yisrael, Hashem Mekar Yisrael. They benched Hashem in the Makar, even in the uteruses of the women, there was shira going on. The Mandama who learns from there that you make Sheva Brachos, Im Kain, if it was only talking about the babies that were singing shira, Lema Krami Beten, my Mimikar refers more to a uterus, which would refer to the Kala, Al Iske Mikar. What are you going to do with the pasuk about Boaz? Why did Boaz sit down 10 men? Obviously for Sheva Brachos. He wanted a minion there to explain to them that my shidduch is legitimate and it's amoni v'loyamonis so that 10 people should see that he's allowed to marry her. The Yisrael Gedai Techlev Bracha, if it's for a bracha, lo yisagid delav zekanim, he didn't need zekanim, he didn't have to take the rabbanim of the generation. He could have taken any 10 people for the Sheva Brachos. The fact that he wanted the rabbanim, the zekanim, obviously because he wanted to make a point that it's mutter for him to marry Rus. The idach, Yisrael Gedai Techlev Midrash, if it was just for halacha, lo yisagid delav asara. Why didn't he need 10 people? What if he took 3 rabbanim to be mafarsim it? Was that his 10? No, he wanted 10 because he wanted to make sure it gets out there that it's 100% mutter what he's doing. Go outside. But I see Asara, bring me 10 people because I want to teach halacha. The Eimalach Bampayu, I want to be able to declare in front of 10 people that I'm Mizaka Uber Kana. Someone who's Mizaka, something to an Uber, the Uber will be kind of. So we're not focusing here on what the halacha is, but you see that there's an Indian that when you want to be Mefarsim halacha, you get 10 people. The Hilchazah Mizaka Uber Loikana, if you're Mizaka to an Uber, you're not kind of. Okay, I guess we'll have to stop here. It's 6:52. But we'll have tomorrow. But these are Shmaki Gemaras. The next article is just reading the Mitzvah.